manpower. However, the team behind Anna Oops settled on purposely being less than that because they wanted the illusion of humanity. All these opinions about who was in the right or wrong in their content, possibly fabricated to play to a crowd. It's risky business doing that and easily leads to contradictions that could harm people involved or mentioned. The truth is that everything is an algorithm to some extent, even personal values and expressions of those that can supposedly organically draw an audience in. It's an inevitability, and plenty of creators have been called out in their time for expressing opinions they may not truly hold. Playing to the crowd is common. However, when you engineer channels with the sole intent of playing to the crowd, not only do you reduce the realm of critical thought in that genre, you also make a lot of damn additional mistakes. The majority opinion isn't always the right one. Making errors is part of life as an individual creator. We're only human and we strive to grow. At the same time, I think most creators' lives would be easier if we didn't make those errors and have to deal with the guilt and shame that comes with them. To have a corporate network that creates a formula to enable those errors is just insulting to the people who spend hours trying to avoid such pitfalls. It also amplifies harm that can be spread through falsehoods and misrepresentations that may not have spread otherwise. This was especially valid with the true crime genre, a section of YouTube that demands meticulousness and dignity for all those involved. The incompetence of Anna Souls could not have just prospectively damaged other creators in the domain, but also victims and their families as well, who are often the subject of these stories. That's why a personal connection to the content is often important, because that connection will provide you with an inherent motive to be sensitive to the world around you. Otherwise, the only real motive that exists is the one, the numbers, and sometimes the numbers will tell you to do something different to the people. Sure, the best way to attract clicks is to exaggerate titles and thumbnails while dramatizing the story and asking the viewers, what do you think about this mass murderer? But not all content should be treated that way. When Anna Oop moved from the T to true crime, there wasn't any real acknowledgement of the sheer differences between the two realms. Too many businesses don't distinguish that one genre may have different rules to another because they lack that personal connection to understand the nuances, which is what caused so much unrest in the true crime community. People felt that Anna didn't respect those cases, and they may well have been correct. The other problem with seeing matters only through numbers is how you interpret the actions of others, and how you interact with criticism. The Truth for Reality situation showed us that. Separate to the point of copyright altogether, the Anna Solves community post projected the intention of a channel like theirs onto a channel like Truth's, who for all intents and purposes does actually sincerely care about the stories he covers. It's particularly illuminating the comparison of the response to someone like Truth, a smaller creator, and Mr. Ballon, a larger creator. One video was taken down swiftly and silently, the other resulted in a public campaign that only stalled when people called them out for it. And alright, maybe they would have been able to pass as a person with less outrage if they'd merely created content and avoided any outside interactions, but they used this perception as a human to instigate drama with other creators and elicit sympathy from their viewers. It gave them the ability to use those human emotions to leverage favorable outcomes and just attention in general. How that sort of attention could only yield so much good when your own shortcomings become more noticeable and the channels around you begin to falter as well. Even businesses stretch themselves thin trying to cut corners, and the same numbers that tell you the more content the better make you forget about the other numbers that gave you those numbers in the first place. In the end, even without an admission, people felt the mask had slipped. An inhuman schedule with an inhumane approach. All was undone.
I know y'all been waiting for a face reveal. I wish I could.
Pain.
Maybe next time.
Nothing was real.
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
I suppose behind the scenes there are many ways that the Anna Oops squad could have responded with which we would not necessarily be aware of. They could have found a person with a bit more experience in the community and given them greater reins over the research and production. They could have centralized the channel's presence more on an individual, given them control of operations, or at least helped to see the work being done on their behalf. They're never going to be as organic as some, but for all we know, these are steps that could have been taken since being called out, which is why I don't want to presently malign them too much. We're not entitled to know exactly everything someone is doing to improve themselves. However, it's hard to say that outside of that, any individual passion has been developed for the content they're creating, although avoiding any large-scale controversy.
Excited for this moment. I don't know why. I shouldn't be, but I am.
He's just ready for it. Kick him out.
You got a whole host of complaints from the nurses that you need to change your behavior. You haven't.
I know that, and I apologize for it.
I know that, and I apologize.
I don't care.
Yeah,
get
I
him.
don't care.
And
Yeah, Dr. Now.
To help you.
Ooh.
He's putting it on.
There ain't no helping him.
So you're done here.
Yeah, Dr. Now.
Emergency, you will not be admitted back.
I've been good. I swear I apologize to everybody.
Put my pain medicine, doctor.
Doc, here, let me, or hold on, let me hit the button real quick. Henry!
If you say you have nowhere at all, I will have you drop in homeless shelter in a few minutes.
Oh, Dr. Nail is a service. He told him, he said, bro, listen, you think I'm playing with you, but I'm not.
Oh, you got nowhere to go? Well, don't worry. I'll find you
We got
somewhere.
a place for people like that too, dog.
Yeah, you think you can just live here? Nope.
Your behavior at this point dictates that nobody can help you in here.
Please, I want to.
No, too bad. He just stared at him like,
Don't give me that cry, camera cry.
eh, whatever, dude. I've been doing this for a long time. I've heard it all right?
And you call your dad. Come pick you up.
Can you call him?
Very well. We call your father to find out where we will take you.
Well, what's up, bro? You pick up the phone and call everybody else. What's the problem?
Yeah, I know. Like, it's like it gets to all this. Please give me another chance. Will you call my dad for me? Because that sounds like
Henry,
work
call
and, yeah.
But Stephen is so far off the chart from what we have experienced that there is no systematic approach to him. Aside from how
He's over here like, yeah, hey, yo, can you guys, my pain medicine though, can you guys hook me up again, please?
One more time.
Henry?
But he also is very smart and he knows how to manipulate everybody around him. And he will do.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think he did anything very smart. Everyone was just a pushover, and he just complained, and they kept doing it. You know,
Right.
I mean, the other nurses probably told him no, and that's why he kept calling for Henry, because Henry's his yes man. You know.
Henry feels bad for him.
Yeah, Henry's like, oh man, my
I
bad,
got
dude.
you, man.
But the reality is, he doesn't care about changes. No matter what you're addicted to, it all comes down to a choice.
I mean, I know a couple things he's addicted to now. This is like where it became like. I think he gets the one we did before is like he shows up in the ambulance and Dr. Now comes out like, no, do not bring him here.
If I told you don't come.
But they loaded him up and brought it.
An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
GG.
An ally has been slain. Turret plating will fall soon. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
You won't live with your world destroyed. Send me to battle.
Your turret has been destroyed. An ally has been slain.
Lose. Disney unfortunately had to cast someone else to be Sebastian, considering the original voice actor Samuel Wright died in 2021. The magic and the charisma he brought to the character cannot be replaced nor duplicated, so everything in his place is a sad facsimile. Ironically, a few years back, Disney cast the rapper Shaggy to be Sebastian in a live-action Little Mermaid TV show. To my surprise, he was a far better Sebastian than the one we got in the movie.
Ain't that a B?
And this new guy's probably much cheaper. Mr. Romantic, Samuel Fantastic. The Little Mermaid is clearly another one of Disney's soulless remakes, devoid of creativity or fresh ideas, leaning heavily on diversity as a shield. And if you say that The Little Mermaid won't work or it won't do well, you'll be chased off of Twitter for being a bigot. The star of Disney's Aladdin learned that the hard way.
Racist, sexist, homophobic.
The actor from the live-action Aladdin speculated that The Little Mermaid wouldn't cross $1 billion, and even though he made no mention of race, nor did he express that he wanted the film to fail, he was dogpiled with accusations based around race. He since deleted his account.
Because people on Twitter only know how to be victims. Any level of racism or even an opinion they don't like.
Our film was unique in the audience went to watch it multiple times. It's the only way we reached $1 billion mark with our opening. My guess is that The Little Mermaid doesn't cross the $1 billion mark, but will undoubtedly get a sequel.
As you could tell, this was incredibly bigoted. The film won't hit $1 billion, but they will get a sequel. Wow, he hates black people.
Why do you hate me? I don't hate you. I don't hate you.
Damn, he should have apologized for his tweet instead of deleting his whole account. Like they say, play stupid games, you win surprises. Mina Massoud shouldn't pin against POC lead Disney films. That's just wrong. As a fellow Torontonian, this pettiness is beneath you. And seeing how the Hollywood machine has treated you since, you should hush. As a black woman with naturally red hair.
That hair is barely red, girl. That is brown. I hope that this movie is successful in every way. You should hope so as well. Shaking my damn head.
Mina Massoud deleted his account. Smiley faces. I hope he learned something from this, but I doubt it.
He learned that you people are absolutely insane.
I don't believe you people.
What do you need, you people?
If you have fries, I hope that those fries are queer or you're a bigot. You already know what happens in the film. Ariel kills Ursula rather than Eric. He's the one that needs saving because girl power. Frankly, I don't want to talk about this film too long because it doesn't deserve it. And I'm sure someone will say, "Oh, this is a kid's movie," as a defense. Or they will call anyone who dislikes the film a racist, because what do you do when you can't come up with a compelling argument? Call somebody a bigot. Now, to people who say that it's a kid's film, don't think it too far. Whatever. But I say that the 90s version of Disney's films had more charm and sophistication than this ever will. They also had more soul, creativity, and obvious passion for storytelling. And songs that were memorable. They were like little earworms. You find yourself singing Under the Sea 20 years later. And don't get me started on the whole kids show thing. The Batman animated series or the Justice League Unlimited, those were kid shows. And my God, it was just so much more compelling. In fact, if you look at those old superhero shows, they're better than the MCU as far as storytelling goes. So basically to say it's a kid's film, by that argument, it's either our kids are getting dumber or Disney's getting lazier.
How many different moons does the Earth have?
4 and 4.
Maybe it's both. Number 2, the racist rebuttal. That has become so tired and overused, it's practically like the boy who called bigot. If you can't see that Disney is leaning heavily on diversity to shield itself from well-deserved criticism simply by screaming racism, then you're the type of person that thinks all of our problems will go away if we print more money.
Yep.
Money is just free. No. Seriously. Why don't we just print more money?
The Little Mermaid has pacing issues so bad it makes Joe Biden look like Supersonic. Some segments were too long while others were just far too short. You're almost confused as to how things escalated so quickly. It was a lot like watching a Star Wars movie. And don't even get me started on the dubiously odd multiracial daughters of King Triton from one merwoman. That would make me start screaming paternity test if I was him. I don't think any of his daughters were Latin, and he was, now that I look back at it. Oh well, not to mention like there's nobody in the kingdom. You never see an actual kingdom. Like King Triton's like living in a rock. And you see no other mer people to the end of the film, but that's neither here nor there. The Little Mermaid is indicative of our times, a sad facsimile of something from the past that was far better and cheaper to make, with none of the love or attention to detail. Just another product for consumers on Twitter who cry because their own lives are so devoid of meaning and accomplishment that they have to find it elsewhere because they cannot find it within themselves. Modern movies. God help us all. If art imitates life, then we are truly doomed. But you know what they say.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Gotta love how Shen brought the laners up to me and we just die. Like, thank you, Shen, for that. You also. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro.
Has been slain.
Pure pain.
Hey guys.
It's a 45 caliber. Now tell me, what is the caliber of the gun?
Envy can do so much damage. It is messed up.
An enemy is unstoppable.
Look, her case is not looking that great. I'm not gonna lie. It really isn't. He's shining his head. You love to see it.
Unstoppable. Shut down. Enemy double kill.
True. But he's full metal. Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of family left.
I hate this fucking team. I hate this fucking Elo!
Yeah, she's always nice.
I couldn't think of anything worse than babysitting Bazza. I really couldn't.
It's the worst job.
No, he can help with the story. She did shoot him. Maybe he's got the bullet somewhere.
Maybe he can confirm if they don't believe the report.
Yeah.
There'll be something in it for him though.
Rampage. Enemy killing spree.
Dang. My reaction too.
Pain.
What should be something dark? Ross will get off Frey as long as Bazza gets to slice up brioche.
Oh, what?
Pain.
This dude is sarcastic all the time.
Yeah, I can't tell if he's lying or not.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Enemy rampage. An ally has been slain.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, he's not allowed
Turret
to.
plating will soon fall.
Bold.
What?
Okay. This is weird.
Breaking Ross out. Can't believe Bazza is working on our side.
Yeah, this is so strange. Oh dear.
An ally has been slain.
Bust out. Go with Bazza. Can't believe I'm saying that.
She doesn't like both options.
That would probably be grateful if he does. They really don't waste any character, do they?
No. And there's so many of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Bazza was like a gag and that he was dealt with.
Yeah. Or
Look at Mitsubishi. He's so like cool. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Shit, no, we don't need this. Everyone just work together, right? Someone's gonna catch her.
Yeah, I thought about this alleyway. Miss Fishy.
Yeah.
Who's gonna help her?
No, 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 no. It's not true. He's been reading the Scarlet. No, actually, no, Mitsubishi knows better because he's been doing a lot of research on the matter. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second! Maybe it is MV.
Pain.
Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist.
Almond Ross. That's not Roy.
Oh. Why are you going in?
It's not. It's not.
No, you're right. It can't be Roy. Why are we burning up Ross now?
No. What the heck?
Like
Oh
literally.
my gosh. He knows Ross, doesn't he?
He hasn't been at Central. He just got moved there.
Oh, okay. So he really thought that she did it.
Your turret has been destroyed.
I'm a little bit shook.
Poor Ross.
An ally has been slain. And your turret is godlike. An enemy has been slain.
Yeah, what the heck, man? Okay, something is off.
He's all emotional about Hughes still.
I'm sure
Yeah, good, you
we'll
tell him
die.
that
Can't
Yeah,
win.
you piece of shit! No, I'm fuming with bloody Mustang.
Yeah, you could never imagine it. It didn't happen.
Wake up, Armstrong. Oh, he's mad.
He hates injustice.
Oh. He wants to smack him, but he's not going to do it.
He doesn't believe he did it.
Of course not. Armstrong's smarter than he leads on.
Fuck you!
Mustang has really went too far this episode. He really bloody has. Wait.
They framed Ross.
It's a request for leave.
Yeah, you leave.
Is that a no?
No, it's fine. Request approved.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Hawkeye's not having it. I have a slight crush on Hawkeye. I haven't worked it out yet, but it's slight.
Okay.
I'm just letting everyone know.
Slamming the door like that feels so...
How is Lynn getting away with all of this?
I don't know.
They were there so quick, it barely burned. Mustang, you must be the most stupid smart guy I've ever seen in my life.
Going through some shit.
Wait! What's he doing?
Sending him away?
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
trying to protect them, I think, Carly, but in this weird little way.
Separating them. No. They're not gonna see each other for ages. I'm calling it now.
Shut down.
Screw you, Roy. Unless he's doing it for a noble reason.
I think he might be, but you can't burn Ross like that.
Enemy is legendary. Enemy double kill.
Say what now?
Bro.
Barry the chopper.
Oh shit. So this show's not afraid to be doing some shit. What the hell was that?
Turned Ross into a lump of coal. That was heartless, man.
No, Roy is better than that.
He was obviously really torn up about Hughes' death.
Yeah. He said at the everyone's out of my way.
Yeah, so he
Why
wanted
are
to
they
get rid of
chasing the
Ed
jungle?
for some reason. I don't know what his next play is. I'm not sure.
Ed and Al.
Al stays. Ed goes.
Is Ed some sort of danger to him?
I don't know.
Can Ed stop Mustang?
I'm doing what?
Just from doing whatever. Like, can he get involved in the plans? I don't know.
Terrible fucking nigger teammates.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
That's all you're good for is killing this pathetic ass jungler.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. You have slain an enemy.
Yep.
An enemy is legendary. Shut down. An enemy is godlike. Shut down.
Let's see how my team disappoints me this game.
very start of it, let's say goodbye to a long and sorrow-stricken night. The glory holding in my grip, this flag of mine, anchor down to the world and flying high. And if you start to walk, the wind will follow behind you soon enough. Let's hoist the flag across, move forward. Hey, it's nice to meet you. It's not a story. 'Cause now we've found our way. sing this tune, they keep marching to the beat of another drum. But we still smile and they ask why. But I don't need a reason to be how I am. Every time when someone cries out, I'm fighting through the fear of the failure. I won't fail this time around. I'm a hero, a beacon bright with hope. I'll be there just in time for the rescue. I'll bring you safely home. Know who you are and what you can do, and push yourself past all the limits that you set. Just like no regret. Be what you were made for. I hope you know that you were always good enough. You were always where you're wanted when you needed to be. Oh, please know you were always good enough. You were always where you're wanted when you needed to be. Realize that I've got my own reasons why I tend to hesitate and think on the past. But I still regret taking all of my time. I won't get it back after all. After all, I keep pushing on. I keep going even if it takes me just one step at a time. I'll hold on to what I believe is true, the light that shows right through. And from now on, forevermore, determined to shine. Every time another one cries out, I'm fighting through the fear of a failure. I won't fail this time around. I'm a hero, a beacon bright with hope. I'll be there just in time for the rescue. I'll bring you safely home. Know who you are and what you can do, and push yourself past all the limits that you set. Live a life of no regret. Be what you were made for. Know who you are and what you can do.
Enemy rampage.
Even though we try to make a better world, it seems that everything we say goes unheard. No matter how many times we sing this tune, they keep marching to the beat of another drum.
Picturing someone that looks like Urgot out of League of Legends. You know, someone with what a coincidence! What the fuck? Poop-stained trousers in a dark room. Some sex-obsessed loser who's always just scheming and talking about getting laid. It's become a very negative title. It's mainly just become an insult. You know, you call someone a Twitch mod during an argument like, "Hey, Buster, stupid face, you look like a Twitch mod." It's like, "Oh, why I never? What did you say to me? Twitch mod? Put him up then, tough guy." You know, it's just, it's a title that's got a very bad reputation over the last few years. And right now there's a viral clip going around where it's claiming a Twitch mod said these really weird things during a stream moment.
But I met a girl who's a streamer. I went up to her, I hugged her, and I came in my pants.
Man's looking like he's about to come in his pants again, just talking about it, reminiscing on the glory days of that hug. So, the title that's going around with this video is that this is a Twitch mod for a famous female streamer. And that's not exactly the truth of this situation. That's a bogus, phony baloney story here, a load of horseradish just used to generate extra clicks and attention on the video. I actually immediately recognized the guy in the video here because I'm like a fucking librarian when it comes to internet degeneracy. I'm like Jarvis in Tony Stark's Iron Man suit, just this damn near omniscient AI, but all I can fixate on is dog shit internet weird stuff. So I recognized him, and he is like a real world anime character full of mystery and mystique. There is actually an entire pseudo-documentary about him, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but let me show you the rest of the clip before doing a full dive.
I think you need to get laid a little more often, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was she hot though? Was she like super duper duper hot?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's forgivable if she was super duper duper hot.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if she was only super duper hot, this would be unforgivable, but she was
Why did he
super
take the
duper
kill,
duper
bro?
hot.
It's okay.
And I mean, I think we can all understand premature ejaculation from hug contact there, obviously. I mean, that's the threshold. That's the rules. So that's the clip that's really popped off, because it's a goofily, awful, embarrassing moment captured, and he is very proud about the ejaculatory experience here from a simple hug. Like, actual busted nut from a hug. I mean, that's something that you couldn't torture that information out of me. Like, you couldn't waterboard me enough to have me
For
admit
real,
to
what the
ejaculating
fuck?
from a fucking hug. And yet here's this man at a bar just telling it like it's an old story or something, and he's got like an audience around him that's like, oh, interesting there, brother, what the fuck? Yeah, it's a very weird clip. And
Very
people keep
weird.
pointing and laughing at him, obviously, but they also keep calling him a Twitch mod, and that's just accurate. Now, full transparency here, there is a possibility that he was at some point
Jesus.
someone's Twitch mod. Not who they were claiming, and he's not known for being a mod of any popular streamers or any female streamers for that matter, but there is a chance that he does or has modded for someone or some people in the past. That information I don't fully have knowledge on, but I do know a lot more about this guy than most people seem to, which is surprising because he's actually very well known in the Twitch community. There is a whole documentary about him. Was a 27-year-old virgin at the time of filming this video here, and it's a very open and honest look into his whole life. He became known for his extremely aggressively sexual comments in people's stream chats, female streamers' stream chats, as well as his tweets, where they're all just sexually charged. A lot of them are about pegging and just
Jesus.
how often nutting, making
What
his
the
cum
fuck?
face, his orgasm face. Like, it's all very sexually charged stuff. So he got a reputation for being, like, creepy for that. And very interesting is that he actually opens this interview with the channel Built Differently with the exact same speech, the exact same proud monologue that he just gave in this viral clip that came out 2 days ago.
Wow,
There was
what a
one
person.
time when I met T Peach, she gave me a hug. I met her the first time, and I ended up jizzing my pants.
Jesus Christ.
I ended up leaving the convention, going back to my hotel room, changing my underwear and my pants, and then going back to the convention.
It's got sad music playing, like Mr. Krabs on the world's smallest violin, but he seems very proud of this. He's now told this story twice. This feels like it must have been the most exciting moment of his entire being. Like, the entire 27 years he's spent on this planet all led up to that moment of filled trousers from the hug. So, like, he's just very upfront with everything about himself, and he is a virgin, or was a virgin when this was filmed, which I imagine most of you are saying, like, yeah, that sounds about right, that's par for the course being a moderator. But his story, like, his X-Men origin story is probably a little different than what you're expecting. He is a virgin by choice. He had a girlfriend, he had been about 10 years, and the reason they broke up is because he didn't want to fuck her without a condom, and she was insistent on him clapping her cheeks raw. I mean, of course, you have to take all this with a grain of salt. There's a possibility he's just making up erotica fanfic here. It could not be real. But he is telling this story about his previous girlfriend, and that's been 10 years, and he doesn't masturbate, and he doesn't watch porn. All he does now is have wet dreams and make sexually charged tweets and shit all the time. He also then told a story about how he went up to some girl's hotel room during a convention and she got naked, and then he said, nope, I'm out of here, not doing that. He is saving himself for the right girl. So he is a virgin by choice until he meets a fucking angel, which is totally fine. You know, he shouldn't feel pressured into having sex if he doesn't want to. But then on the flip side of that coin, why is he always talking about sex? Like, that is his whole brand. Always talking about sex. He has built a reputation on Twitter for, like, replying to female streamers' tweets with, like, pictures of himself and then making conversational sexual topics out of it. It's very weird. So if he is choosing not to have sex, why does he just always talk about it? And then in the same interview, the interview was fascinating, by the way. In that same interview, he says that there's really no streamer that he'd even want to date. Yet he is always, like, horny posting in their chats and on Twitter. It's so interesting.
I think one other time, this was like the third TwitchCon, but this was like at a party when I was drunk. Yeah. There was a bunch of girls dancing up on me, and I just like, yeah.
Oh my god, bro. This guy nutted again.
That's badass.
Dallas.
He's also
It's
just
not
constantly
badass. What
dumping
the
yogurt
fuck?
into his pants anytime physical contact with a woman, it seems. He tells a couple instances here where he once again blows his load in his pants. He's like, this is the beginning of the beginning of the interview here. So he was just like proud of it, it seems.
Like 3 times out of the week, I usually wake up and it's like a puddle.
Oh my god.
If I did, I would feel out of place. You know what I mean? It's not.
Oh,
me.
dude, I just forgot that you hung on this bed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be sitting on it. Alright, yeah,
Now, since he doesn't masturbate, allegedly, it sounds like his body is rebelling against him, so he says about 3 times a week he wakes up in puddles of cum.
What the fuck?
That's a terrible way of starting your day. Waking up in a puddle of cum, just splish splashing in cum every time you wake up, that sounds fucking terrible. And what I want to talk about briefly here is the way his room is decorated. You can see all of the Twitch merchandise, Twitch everything, and then a Twitch streamer's photo on the shelf behind his bed. So he very clearly lives and breathes the Twitch ecosystem.
Finally a good fucking game!
I find that very sad. I don't think anyone should make a hobby their whole personality, no matter what it is. Whether you're a big fan of Twitch streamers or anything like that, it should never become your whole personality, where everything you do kind of revolves around it, and that's the impression I kind of get from him. Where he spends so much time in all of these streamers' chats, and a lot of what he says is sexually charged, and it translates into the real world where he has all of this Twitch stuff everywhere, including, like, a picture of a streamer that he—
There we go!
It seemed like something—
Gail, come here!
And, like, the, you know, the monument she builds for Arnold. It's just, it's an obsession, and that's not good.
Fear because I ejaculate so much in my sleep that first girl I ever have sex with, I'm gonna end up getting her pregnant. I also know that because like I got tested for my sperm and it's like I got like those double-headed. My sperm
What are
count
you
is
doing,
up
bro?
there.
The potent god seed, I suppose. Talking about, like, double-headed sperm. Man's got fucking chimera sperm. Wild stuff. Like I said, it's a very fascinating interview. They eventually take him to a strip club. It's all very wacky. But yeah, I guess the only thing I really wanted to focus on is that the story is wrong around that clip. He's not a Twitch mod. He's something much more than that. He's been well known in the community for a long time now. And still, of course, a very weird clip. In fact, a series of very weird clips from him. And very weird tweets and Twitch chat messages over the years. But yeah, I just want to talk about this a little bit, and that's about it.
Like,
So, yeah.
actually, these fucking players suck so much cock. They suck so much cock!
Most of the more unhinged guests on Dr. Phil are presumed to be mentally ill, though they
Yup.
often lack a clear diagnosis to explain their strange behavior. That's true of Sexy Vegan, and yes, that is his legal name, though I refuse to refer to him as Sexy, lest anyone think that's my personal opinion on the matter, so in an act of civil disobedience, I'll be referring to him as Hans, which is the name he was given at birth. Hopefully, he can find it in his heart to forgive me. Hans appeared on Dr. Phil in 2017. Well, it was more like his mother, Susan, appeared on the show on his behalf. Susan's husband was wealthy, and she received an $11 million inheritance after his passing. The problem is, she was regularly spending hundreds of thousands of that inheritance on Hans. Even though he was in his mid-30s, he
Why
refused to
did
work
Kale
to
have to
earn a
not
living,
follow
since
up?
he
Like, what
considered
the
himself
fuck,
above
bro?
a normal job. He was, quote, too talented and beautiful for a 9-to-5. At the same time, he insisted on residing in Hollywood, so those exorbitant living expenses were falling on her to to cover. Susan certainly wasn't helping the situation though. She also bought him multiple cars and condos just because he requested it. She clearly didn't know how to set up boundaries between her life and that of her son. However, the situation was far more bizarre than simply some lazy bum of a guy mooching off his rich mother. Hans's mother was actually subsidizing him being a nuisance to society. Tens of thousands of dollars and legal fees for Hans's favorite pastime, getting arrested. She had bailed him out of jail multiple times across 15 different arrests for offenses such as possessing ecstasy, making threats, breaking into a dog pound, and whipping it out to urinate in front of a crowd of people. Sounds like a normal day in Hollywood. However, in Hans's opinion, the arrests for those incidents were undeserved, and that's partially why he thought his mother was obliged to pay his bail. The authorities were targeting him for no reason, and the onus was on her to liberate him from his unjust oppression. Other than being arrested, his hobbies include prancing around Hollywood half naked and scribbling chicken scratch all over the walls of the condos his mom bought for him. He holds a grandiose image of himself as some kind of messiah or exceptional person, which is the main reason he's propelled to do these things. For example, a point he harps on is having achieved the highest score in Hot or Not history when he was 26, as if it were some kind of official achievement. Whether this is true or not, he also owns tons of mirrors and brings them around with him everywhere so he can check himself out. He's made sporadic attempts at earning an honest living, such as trying to launch a dating website, which his mom spent 100 grand on advertising for. He's also written 2 novels. One, called The Adventures of Fargo Lefty, features a character who is basically a self-insert of Sexy Vegan. The concerning part is that this character buys a gun and starts unaliving people who mistreat animals. The second book, After Death, details the story of Dante Bish, an inventor who improves upon the design of toilets and becomes wealthy after the masses adopt his new innovative model. Using his riches, Bish contributes to environmental causes and promotes veganism. By the way, Bish is also a fallen angel who was sent to Earth by God due to his failure to adhere to a vegan diet. So he does this all to make amends for his grave sin of not being an epic vegan. That brings me to the obvious points, that a big part of Sexy Vegan's shtick is veganism. I mean, it's written on the guy's face. I don't know why it is that, while not all vegans are insane, the most insane people are often vegan. It's nothing short of intriguing to observe how he adamantly upholds this specific principle while displaying erratic behavior on all other fronts, to the point where he starved himself in jail when there's no vegan food available. Though if he is indeed mentally ill, this kind of cognitive dissonance is par for the course. On that point, Vegan's own appearance on Dr. Phil was quite brief, because as soon as they brought him on, he started moonwalking and yelling obscenities.
I am the beautiful vegan messiah. I was just like my dad, okay? 10 luxury cars. My dad told me I had the same name as him until I legally changed it. My mom did not bail me out of jail when she knew I was innocent. I'm liberating over 70 pigs in cages so small they cannot move for years. My mom's a sociopathic piece of I have the highest score in Hot or Not history. I got 9.9 out of 10 after 327 women rated me. Let's see your talent. Let's see your talent, you ugly piece of Okay, stop.
He ended up coming back on the show roughly 3 months later, and the discussion was a little bit more productive that time, mostly owed to the fact that Hans had been with a psychiatrist Dr. Phil provided. During those months, Mr. Vegan had managed to stay out of trouble with the law, and things were looking up. His mother also acknowledged that she had been financially incentivizing these endeavors, thereby enabling them, and she seemed to have agreed to stop. However, the psychiatrist didn't have anything to mention regarding what mental illness could possibly be afflicting Hans, except for anxiety. Hans doesn't have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or
anxiety makes him do all that.
Phil thought he could be suffering from a personality disorder, what with all the delusional grandeur and antisocial behaviors, but that's it. I honestly have a hard time believing that what you see is how this guy naturally is, and maybe it's the case that the psychiatrist was unable to thorough, or Sexy Vegan suffered some kind of brain damage from his prior drug abuse. In any case, Hans didn't continue to improve after his last appearance on Dr. Phil. In fact, it seems he's exclusively gotten worse since then. It's unclear if his mom is still bankrolling his reign of terror, but I mean, someone is if he's still got a pulse, because I can assure you that anybody with the name Sexy Vegan is definitely not employed. Even if Hans wanted to work, which he evidently doesn't, there's no way he could hold down a job. Unfortunately, there have been plenty of new developments in his story. In 2019, he was arrested for having his pit bull lick his butt, filming it, and then posting the video online. So much being a stop stopped animal cruelty. He pled no contest to the charges, was put on probation, and was given community service. His dogs were also thankfully taken out of his possession. His side of the story is that it's a double standard that people can keep animals in cages, but he isn't allowed to, you know, do what he did.
I'm innocent of all the charges. I would never abuse an animal. Society is screwed up. It's okay to keep animals in cages so small they cannot move for 2.5 years. Right. Yeah, a dog licking my butt on Twitter, that's the end of the world.
Even in light of this bad publicity, he ran for president in the 2020 election. This endeavor was accompanied by some public speeches in his usual manner of stopping his car in the middle of busy traffic and then jumping on top of it. Yes, that's something he regularly does. In this video, he gives a very moving speech about his campaign promises, such as changing the national flag and building more public restrooms, and strangely enough, he claims to be endorsed by NPR. He reiterates his usual God complex spiel that, quote, "You are looking at the greatest living being that has ever lived." How eloquent. Then a cop car shows up and he hops back in his absolutely busted whip and speeds off. It's actually quite an impressive maneuver, but he's used to doing this by now. Unfortunately, not all of his speeches have been as polite and inspirational as that one. During 2020, he would ironically be arrested yet again for mistreating animals. His pet rabbit had suffered severe injuries that were allegedly inflicted by him. His bail was set at $20,000, but he's clearly out on the streets again being a menace to society, so someone had to have bailed him out. What happened with these is currently unknown. Sexy Vegan is currently running for president again in the 2024 election and has an impressive social media presence to go along with his campaign. In fact, the Sexy Vegan Instagram account is currently sitting at a whopping 1.6 million followers. It's unclear if those followers are botted or what, but it's a sight to behold nonetheless. In any case, his post consists of pictures of him wearing women's clothes and screenshots of profound Mark Twain quotes. His Instagram bio reads, "Please leave caps off and don't use dog poo bags so you don't trap insects. Flush the poo down the toilet instead. No stink in trash." This is actually quite an important point. He's drawn diagrams about this issue, and we see it pop up again on this website for his presidential run. On that website, there's a paragraph written about, among many other things, the importance of leaving the caps off plastic bottles and not using doggy bags so insects don't get trapped in them and die. His obsession with veganism apparently extends to a preoccupation with the suffering of insects as well, if that's even a thing. The universal law of karma dictates that you reap what you sow, not necessarily in real time or even in this particular known existence. Oprah has contended, and she was the person who established the career of Dr. Phil, and she met Dr. Phil when the meat industry was suing her for defamation, and Dr. Phil posted me to his social media in 2018 on Oprah's birthday, and Oprah told Dr. Oz, who resembles me, that she didn't believe in coincidences because there are too many. Please do not use dog poo bags because they are mutually disadvantageous because they trap sex and cause unpleasant odor in both the transient receptacle as well as on their way to pollute landfills. Please flush down the toilet or use fertilizer on the soil. Please do not use single-use intended plastic bottles, but if you do, then leave caps off because insects go in because they are thirsty, and when you put the caps back on, then throw it away, the insect is trapped in there and suffers until they slowly die. There is a better way if you listen to me. I notice things that pass others by. Just forfeit, Graves! Just forfeit! He is ending suffering even if people don't understand what you were doing, not only don't give you the credit for your noble work, but insults and call you crazy. I could live in an electric house and own an electric car. I do not drink, smoke, or use any illicit drugs, and I recycle everything. His other policy positions include legalizing, but maybe she's contracted a terminal case of foot fungus or something, so keep her in your prayers, guys. You've probably seen stories in the news about female teachers getting caught sleeping with their male students before. Arguably, the strangest part of the phenomenon is how it's consistently treated like a casual occurrence, or even something to be celebrated for the underage victim, no matter how young they are. It's quite a disturbing topic, and luckily we won't technically be talking about a case of an adult taking advantage of someone who is under the age of consent today. However, this is a case of an educator abusing their position and subsequently getting arrested and criminally charged for it. Not only that, the incident was filmed and spread around the school. Meanwhile, the teacher tried to sue the victim's mother. In 2014, 29-year-old Tanya Ramirez got involved with a 17-year-old student named Tristan. He was not in her class, but he did indeed attend the school she worked at. To clarify, the age of consent in Texas is 17. However, it's still illegal for students and teachers to get together for obvious reasons. However, as it turns out, it wasn't immediately apparent to Tanya why such an engagement would be wrong. Tanya initially claimed Tristan was the one to pursue her, but Tristan revealed that, through a mutual friend, Tanya had informed him that she thought he was cute and that he should get her number, and that's how they first got in touch over text. That same friend allegedly also got with Miss Ramirez, though she denied this. They would end up talking for 4 weeks, exchanging over 300 texts, until, as Tanya puts it, things got more flirtatious. delicious. Some of their text exchanges were shared on the show. Tanya, maxed out on squat and sumo deadlift today. I'm sore already. I need a massage bad. Tristan, well, I'm good at massages, so... OMG, I'm so down. Me too. Yay, I can't wait. Tanya, you don't text me back. When you see me, you don't say anything, so what's up? Tristan, haha, same with you, and okay, promise I'll talk to you next time. That's on you. I'm not forcing you to do or say anything. You just gotta let me know what you want. I'm going out of my way to text you first or go out of my way to see you. That's not what you want. Eat my cock! That didn't answer my text. I do want this is what I'm saying. Well, I'm beyond glad to hear that. Tanya, I haven't asked you, but how old are you? 17, haha. Haha, when's your B-day? March 24th. Oh, ugh. That's a long time before you're 18. Yeah, I know. I couldn't even talk to you after school without someone coming up to us. Felt like we were being watched. Haha, haha, I know, OMG. Do you have a girlfriend? Gotta ask that, because I got played big time by you-know-who. Lol, no I don't. She explained that this last exchange had to do with another student. Tanya would end up inviting Tristan over to her house one night at 2 a.m., and you can imagine how that played out. She weirdly smirks as she talks to Dr. Phil about how they immediately went to the bedroom when Tristan arrived, which she claims was her idea. The complicating factor was that he recorded a short 10-second video of their encounter on his phone, which he did because his friend wanted proof. But in his drunken stupor, he claims he accidentally sent the clip in a group chat of a bunch of his friends. Imagine being in that group chat. Actually, on second thought, that video probably wasn't that much more confounding and unexplainable than the things you MFers send in your group chats. But that's for the next video. Meanwhile, Tanya felt that the video being leaked wasn't accidental and that she had been set up by Tristan, whose intent from the beginning was to publicize getting with a teacher.
You think it was like a trophy thing?
Correct. Like he wanted some kind of recognition after, sleeping with a teacher.
She was also mad that he basically hit it and quit it and didn't communicate with her after the fact.
Just one text and that was it.
What was that text?
He texted me that he had a great night, or it was great, or something in that matter. And then I text back that yes, it was. That, maybe we could do it again.
Obviously, their relationship was exposed once a concerned parent found the video and brought it to the attention of the principal. Tanya, she found out about the video for the first time when her mother's co-worker's niece showed it to them, so she had to watch this thing with her mother. Yikes. Jesus. And I thought a teacher having fans was embarrassing. Concerningly enough, Tanya said she did Tristan a favor by making him more popular around school, and claimed this event led to him being named Homecoming King. Getting in trouble with the law was apparently quite the shock to Tanya, who thought that something like this was only grounds to be fired from her job, but not a criminal offense.
You say you didn't know it was wrong.
Well, I'm saying I didn't think it was legally wrong. I know, obviously, with my profession, I crossed a boundary with the contract I signed. But legally, I didn't think I would be classified as a felon being charged with having sex with a consenting adult.
She pled guilty to the charge regarding Tristan and no contest to another charge of doing similar with another student. Though on the show, she denied her guilt for that charge, only accepting it for the sake of a plea deal. Tanya defended her actions to Dr. Phil by claiming that Tristan should be considered an adult and that he knew what he was doing, and that she was the real victim here because he recorded her without her knowledge. Her story doesn't bode well when you consider she initiated all their interactions, and the video wouldn't have been recorded if she didn't do this in the first place. Obviously, this became a big case in the local media at the time, which resulted in Tristan's mom calling Tanya a sexual predator in the news, which Tanya found to be inaccurate slander. As a result of this, she sued Tristan's mom for defamation, once again turning the tables on her victim. They clearly had animosity towards one another on the show, as when Tanya said the video went viral, Tristan's mom remarked it wasn't that widespread because, quotes, it wasn't that good.
The video went viral, so obviously...
Oh, sheesh!
It was only 10 seconds, baby. It was only 10 seconds. And I don't even really feel like I...
This woman's got some crazy one-liners.
And your client was doing a booty call at 2 o'clock in the morning, having sex with my son.
What a demented
That's
situation.
drama.
In how these cases are usually treated, Dr. Phil was also cracking jokes, and the audience was during the whole show.
You said he had the phone in his pocket?
Or on the pocket, on somewhere where he was in his grasp to reach.
He didn't have any pockets at the time, did he? I mean, you made a big point that he was not in your class. You weren't teaching him.
Right, he was never my student.
Right.
He was just enrolled in the same school.
Yep.
Yeah. But he wasn't your...
No.
Well, until that night. But seeing... Is it
God,
Mrs.
Dr.
Ramirez?
Phil. He's
How do
going
you
in.
refer to her?
Tanya, Miss Ramirez.
Uh-huh. How'd you refer to her that night?
I get it, but at the same time, I'm not sure if they'd think this so funny if it was a 31-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl. Nothing quite got resolved on the show, which is basically the norm for Dr. Phil, but hey, at least it's good content. There haven't been many updates on Tanya Ramirez ever since, besides the fact she started another lawsuit. This suit disputed the Penal Code of Texas, challenging the law which indicted Tanya in the first place. She was actually trying to overturn the law which forbids inappropriate interaction between students and teachers. What a mad lad. Or a mad ladette, I suppose. She just couldn't take her L in peace. She had to go and try and screw up the law to make it easier for other teens to be victimized by creepy teachers. The case's argument was that the law infringes upon the constitutional right to have consensual intercourse. I get what she and her lawyers mean, but, like, that sounds incredibly funny. You could forget the 69th Amendment of the Bill of Rights, Thomas Jefferson's most profound piece of legal writing, which protects everyone's fundamental right to woohoo in The Sims 4. This whole case was literally Tanya accusing the legal system of you-know-what blocking her. Obviously, she was not successful in her crusade, and the state of Texas didn't see it her way. But that wouldn't stop her from attempting to take it to the Supreme Court in 2018, which clearly was unsuccessful. That probably would have been the most entertaining case to ever grace its halls, but alas, we live in the boring timeline, so we don't get to see Tanya Ramirez take the stand and give her arguments in defense of her poor impulse control around 17-year-olds. Do you want to live for 400 years? How about regrowing your limbs and organs? Would you like to know the secret to curing autism, AIDS, Down syndrome, and diabetes? All of which I can tell based on your appearance you may be suffering from. Are you sure you want to know? Can you handle the consequences of possessing such an elixir of life? Can you even handle the healing process? You'll be having strokes, aneurysms, and explosive diarrhea around the clock. Are you sure you're ready? You are? Really? Okay, well, there's a middle-aged Vietnamese lady out there giving the recipe for free on Facebook. Yes, I'm serious. Jillian May Tai Epperly is the creator of the illustrious Jilly Juice, a miraculous cure-all concoction that does all of the above and more, composed merely of 2 cups of water, 2 cups of cabbage, and 1 tablespoon of salt. For reference, 4 tablespoons of salt in one sitting is a lethal dose. All of this is blended and fermented, obviously, just like Mima used to make, and you're supposed to drink a gallon of it a day. That's 6.4 tablespoons of salt a day. She doesn't hide the fact that this will be a traumatizing experience for any prospective undertakers of the Jilly protocol.
You acknowledge that they're going to feel really not great when they start drinking this.
We're redefining the role of pain in our world.
Okay,
right?
You're saying they're not going to feel well when they drink this at
They're
first.
going to feel they're going to feel they're going to feel healing.
Your grandma's back pain? Let me push her down the stairs. She'll definitely be feeling the healing after that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the juice has a special bonus effect if you're lucky.
You could potentially reverse homosexuality.
Oh, me?
Wow.
I'm not doing anything. Really not ordering
Man, I
enough
need to drink some
cabbage
Jilly
and salt
juice,
for
man.
100
I'm
gallons of
2K,
this stuff
bro.
as soon as possible. If it wasn't already obvious, Jilly Juice is a classic snake oil scheme. It garnered a fair amount of attention online in 2017, to the point where Jillian had a Facebook group with 58,000 members, and also got a warning from the FTC for false advertising. She was even instructing people to give her juice to babies, which is just so incredibly dangerous if you know literally anything about infants. You can't even drink water or cow's milk, let alone this absolute aberration of a beverage. Naturally, Jillian was the subject of plenty of bad press, and the vast majority of people rightfully thought she was a con artist, but a small cohort were desperately following her advice, which is what led to her appearance on the Dr. Phil show. She was there to discuss not only her abomination of a creation, but the other schizo health claims pushing online, and to confront the poor souls who were unfortunate enough to follow her advice and suffer the horrendous consequences. This included 2 women who went on the show to talk about the awful side effects they suffered as they increased their Jilly Juice intake. Honestly, they should have known better than to fret. The symptoms aren't a bug, they're a feature.
So this is going to purge out everything. When you're detoxing and doing my protocol, you're going to be expelling all those parasites, and it's not going to be pretty.
These poor women explained how, along with supernatural amounts of diarrhea, they both suffered strokes. Or sorry, not diarrhea, waterfalls.
It's not diarrhea. It's
Violent
not diarrhea. It's called waterfalls because it's different context, different intention, and different outcome.
Okay, explosive diarrhea.
Of them actually had 2 strokes, leading up to which she was already having concerning symptoms. But when she contacted Jilly and her moderators about it at the time, they only egged her on to keep going.
By this time, I'd talked to one of her moderators. The moderator said, well, if it's not, why don't you back off on the juice and see what happens? If it goes away, it's just a healing. Well, it didn't go away. It got worse. MRIs proved that I had had 2 strokes. And she was very rude to me. How do you know you had strokes? She says to me. Well, my doctors told me I had strokes. And you believed them? She said to me.
The other woman had a blood pressure reading of 205/185 at her worst point, which is simply harrowing. She was slurring her words extremely badly and her face was drooping. She knew she was right on the verge of a stroke. Maybe the worst part of all of this is that, faced with the horrific consequences of her health recommendations, and even with these two women in front of her, Jillian didn't even flinch. Nothing can deter her from her delusions whatsoever or cause her to even have a shred of guilt. She just blamed her own symptoms for not being dedicated enough to her advice.
So basically, all those symptoms reinforced your belief system that you're basically going to die from my protocol. So you basically just were like, you really didn't understand my protocol. If you did, you wouldn't.
All about you.
How dare you? Because it is a protocol that you guys gave to me.
Jillian claimed it would have been worse had they not been drinking her fermented vegetable solution, as if these strokes occurred by themselves and the Jilly juice actually prevented it from being worse. She would also post on social media about these two women, calling the healing symptoms.
Lady, she went to the hospital because she had little mini strokes. And the doctor said this, and that. And he probably just corroborated with her because, you know, these hospitals want money. When you're dealing with healing symptoms, you're going to be dealing with something that may be new because you've just addressed a future trigger.
Surprisingly, two other women came on the show to attest to how helpful Jilly Juice was in treating their chronic illnesses. They didn't get a chance to go in depth, so if anything, it was likely the other part of Jillian's protocol that helped them, which prescribes a general plan of clean eating. Also of note was that one of these two women was giving the juice to her children, although thankfully only in small quantities. Dr. Phil also enlisted the help of the YouTuber Jeff Holiday, who had researched and covered Jillian extensively to try and talk some sense into her, but it was to no avail. Jeff and Dr. Phil both pointed out that she was making her advice even more dangerous by encouraging people to go off their bad medications in conjunction with starting the Jilly Juice protocol. Holiday also commented on there being a cult-like aspect to what Jillian does, in that anyone who has doubts or questions is promptly kicked out of the community.
To the haters that attack me, you can either join us or you can go and live your controlled lifespan and be sick for the rest of your life.
After this stellar appearance, you wouldn't expect anyone to come within a 5-mile radius of this woman. But think again, business was still unfortunately booming for Jillian. The government can't properly prosecute her because she doesn't sell Jilly Juice, she just gives out the Krabby Patty secret formula for free. She does monetize her grift and others, such as by selling access to private forums and doing phone consultations. She also has a couple of books, which somehow don't help at all in illuminating the clear details of her ideology. Based on numbers given regarding how many people have paid for consultations and memberships for her site, some guess that she made $500,000 in 1 year alone. So even with how low level and utterly incoherent Jilly Juice is as a grift, Jillian herself is still absolutely milking it. To this day, she uploads winding rants of up to 2 hours on her YouTube channel daily, with titles like Magic Kinetic Energy, Music and Trauma-Based Mind Control, and Dr. Phil Strokes, which sounds like the most cursed NSFW video ever. She's revealed some interesting tidbits in her videos, such as that the Jilly Juice recipe calling for a spoon of salt was a typo, and that it was actually meant to be a teaspoon. Also, after all this time, she realized she could switch from pink salt to table salt because it's cheaper. She admits she just went with pink salt in the beginning because it was easier to market. As for what's happened to Jillian ever since going on Dr. Phil, recent developments include, but are not limited to, the allegation that she killed her dog. Yeah. This started when people took notice of multiple clips of Jillian discussing how her dog suffers from seizures, but that she refuses to take it to the vet. She also talked about how she was feeding it human food as pizza, steak, and eggs, and that this must have been helping, otherwise it would have been much worse. Worse if the dog had a large lump on his belly, which people were speculating was a tumor, but she still wouldn't take it to the vet. This was all until February 2023 when it sadly passed away. Safe to say you should keep your pets and any middle-aged women in your family as far away from Jillian as possible. The next story is that of 19-year-old Ramon Fry, who, unlike everyone else we've covered, came on Dr. Phil as a victim of insanity rather than as perpetrator. You see, Ramon married his high school sweetheart, Shailene, and had a son with her. He had to move in with his in-laws because he had trouble finding work, but witnessed them subjecting her to verbal abuse. Over time, Ramon became the target of scapegoating and endured derogatory name-calling. Faced with an unbearable situation, he realized that he needed to leave the household and his wife. As a result, a custody battle ensued. The times he was allowed to see his kids were nothing short of arduous, due to his in-laws trying to find any small infraction of his conditions they could use against him. According to Ramon, if I was wearing the wrong color of tie, they'd call the police. It was a lot more ridiculous than it needed to be. Although Ramon had already moved out of the house, an inexplicable incident occurred one day while he was visiting. His father-in-law, Lester Earl Reger, requested him to bring his son through the garage entrance when he returned him at noon that day. The reason given was that they were currently cleaning the carpets in the entryway of their house. Ramon agreed to the request and entered the garage. When he arrived, Earl Rieger, who had his hand in a sling and an ice pack on it, met him there. Earl claimed that he had accidentally injured his hand with a hammer and asked him to retrieve some wood plugs that had fallen under a table in the garage, which was entirely covered in plastic wrap. While Ramon was crouching down to reach the wood pieces near the wall, he noticed that Earl approached him. Quote, "I knew something wasn't right, and I heard this pop. It was the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life." Earl suddenly aimed a gun at the back of his head and fired. Ramon miraculously got up and pushed Earl away. Earl fired a few more shots, one of which struck Ramon in the hip. Ramon managed to flee the house, reaching the highway where he flagged down a passerby for help. Ramon later realized that Earl had employed a specific mob method, using a .25 caliber weapon that would lodge a bullet in his skull without it exiting the other end, preventing any evidence that a gun had been fired from reaching the rest of the garage. He also deliberately aimed for the base of the skull to sever his spinal cord, ensuring an instant fatality. Ramon only survived because the gun was off by an inch, with the bullet instead landing in the thickest places in the skull. Earl and his wife, Erlene, Ramon's mother-in-law, had prepared a hole to bury his body in advance, big enough to actually bury his car in it as well.
It's like the stuff you see in Hollywood, but actually happened. They dug a big hole, actually big enough to bury the car. They thought about actually just throwing the whole vehicle in there.
As it turns out, Rieger had a criminal history to explain how something like this could happen at his hands. He had done the same thing 25 years ago. At the time, Ramon was only aware of the version of the story he had been told, which is that Earl and his previous wife Simone got in a scuffle and she fell and hit her head on the sink, suffering a fatal head injury. Safe to say that wasn't even remotely close to the truth of what happened.
This was not she slipped and hit the sink. This man beat her into hamburger. There was so much bruising up and down all over her body and so much blood splatter in the house. They went, you know those little UV lights, they go and try to scan the walls? They had a handprint from this woman that went down the front door where she was trying to...
So he beat his wife to death, and he went to prison for it, served time, and wrapped her up, disposed of the body, got out of prison eventually, then shot you in the head, planned on wrapping you in plastic, burying you. He's in prison for that.
A news article about the trial describes the particulars of this incident. Rieger pleaded guilty in 1985 to the beating death of his 27-year-old wife, Simone Rieger. Her body was found in the Snake River in August 1984. Rieger was convicted of first-degree manslaughter in a plea agreement with the district attorney's office. Rieger learned from that first incident and had prepared to get away with taking out Fry by covering the garage in plastic to hide evidence such as blood splattering in the shooting. He was caught on the first crime because his wife's body lit it up. That's why he didn't use the river, why he prepared the scene. Prior to the trial regarding the attempt on Ramon's life, a dangerous incident took place in the dead of night. An unknown individual unscrewed the gas cap of Ramon's car, stuffed rags inside, and set them ablaze, seemingly with the intention of causing a vehicular explosion. The ensuing fire would have jeopardized not only the car, but also the house where Ramon was residing. Suspicion quickly fell upon someone with clear ties to Ramon's in-laws. During the trial, both Earl and Erlene were found guilty. Earl received a sentence of 130 months, while Erlene was sentenced to a mere 90. Both maintained their innocence during the trial, entering pleas of not guilty. Erlene's defense rested on the argument that the entire scheme had been Earl's idea. Earl, on the other hand, shifted the blame back onto Ramon, claiming Ramon was the one who had confronted him with a gun, leading to a struggle where he disarmed Ramon and shot back in self-defense. Earl further alleged that he suspected Ramon of mistreating his own grandson, an accusation that was disproven during the trial. Notably, there were two additional individuals involved in this elaborate plan. Todd Mulvaney, acting as co-conspirator, had dug the grave and provided the gun for the crime. It was agreed upon that he would be paid $1,200 for his involvement. Another co-conspirator, John Fritz, testified against the others, providing information that was crucial to the prosecution. Ultimately, the evidence implicated a total of 4 individuals in this sinister plot to end Ramon's life. Ramon described experiencing symptoms of paranoia after all this took place, which is more than understandable all things considered, though it was foreboding of worse things to come.
Since the shooting, I don't want to call it paranoid, but I have experienced certain tics. I really don't like when people stand over me now. If someone stands behind me, I'm always looking over my shoulder. When I'm in the classroom, I always have to sit to the rear. I can't sit up in the front. I can't leave a drink unattended in a room because somebody's gonna poison it when I walk out. And I know it's not real, but it still kind of registers back there in the back of my mind.
The custody battle was still ongoing after the trial, and Ramon's appearance on Dr. Phil and its final outcome remains unknown. However, a subsequent update on the situation emerged after a couple of years. Tragically, he resorted to a disturbing act on his college campus. He doused himself in gasoline and set himself on fire. Like all odds, he managed to yet again survive through this horrific ordeal. The police had received prior information about Ramon's mental health challenges, but they didn't classify the incident as an attempt by Ramon to end his own life. It remained uncertain whether this action was a result of the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. In a news article published a few weeks after the incident, it was reported that Ramon had made significant progress in his recovery. He was able to be taken off a ventilator, and his burns were gradually healing. Now, take this last bit with a grain of salt, but I was able to find one more link in Ramon's story, fast-forwarding all the way to 2021. There's a YouTube short by someone called Ramon Fry, and it does indeed look like an older version of him. The video is an application for the show Naked and Afraid, and in it he unfortunately mentions he's been living with paranoid schizophrenia and dealing with it unmedicated. Severe trauma can contribute to the development of schizophrenia in those who are genetically prone, so this would make sense. As for Earl, he got back out of jail in March. This story is sad than anything, and I hope Ramon can get what he needs, while praying that Earl is too old to cause any more damage to anyone else, though being 62 didn't stop him last time. Identity theft is an everyday occurrence as a result of scammers looking for a way to make a quick buck off an unsuspecting victim. However, what isn't an everyday occurrence is someone seriously stealing another person's identity without any clear financial incentive. Sure, there are a myriad of motives for no other than money, but they get progressively weirder. One such unorthodox manifestation of identity theft is digital kidnapping, where an unfamiliar person appropriates a minor's photo from the internet and presents them as their own child. They share these images on their social media accounts, deriving satisfaction from the attention and positive responses they receive for showing off their supposed kids. Sometimes specific hashtags are employed alongside these pictures to indicate to onlookers that the individual posting them is participating in role-playing and constructing a fictional world that is distinct from their real life. But sometimes they leave no indication that what they're doing is fantasy. Take the case of Ashley, who was featured on Dr. Phil in 2016 due to a family that, on the surface, had seemingly no connection with. However, behind the scenes, her online presence was much more intertwined with theirs. You see, she was stealing pictures of this couple's children from Facebook and passing them off as her own, and she had been doing it for 4 years. April and Nathan had 2 twin daughters, Vivian and Sophie, who were 4 years old. But in Ashley's heads, their names were Adaya and Timberland. They were perfectly healthy, but Ashley's narrative was that one of them was suffering from epilepsy. Every single picture April posted, Ashley would repost on her own page with her own story.
She basically took my photos offline and made up a complete life of her as their mom and has a story to go along with every single picture with my girls.
When the girls were wearing shirts with their real names on them, she would blur them out. If their real mother April was visible in any reflections, she would blur that out as well. Ashley made a room with cribs which she painted the same color as the couple's own room. She went as far as framing pictures of the girls and scattering them all over her house. April and Nathan called the police on Ashley when they first discovered this, at which point they discovered that she had been previously arrested for burglary, assault, and computer fraud, and had spent time in jail for these offenses. However, the police said they couldn't do anything because, obviously, taking someone else's photos and re-uploading them isn't a crime. They tried asking her to stop before, but she didn't relent.
My husband sent her a message that we know that she has stolen photos of our babies. He's told her that we contacted the police.
We never heard a response. We thought that was the end of it.
Ashley's narrative included the caveat that she lost custody of the children and her mother-in-law had custody of them instead, an excuse she evidently made up so she wouldn't have to produce the children if anyone asked her to, but she made comments indicative that soon that might change, which was worrisome for the couple. When April, Nathan, and Ashley all finally met for the first time on the show, it was nothing short of enthralling. Ashley had started by vehemently denying the claims in the pre-interview, claiming she did indeed have her own daughters, which were the same age, but that she wasn't stealing photos and had never even seen April or Nathan before. Problem was, on the intake forum, she slipped up and claims to have no children of her own. It was astonishing that, when she was first brought out by herself and Dr. Phil asked her about her pregnancy and details related to it, she had explanations for everything in cycling gear as a part of the Tour de Pink Survivor bike program. We'll come back to this later, because once financial fraud is involved, lying goes from a civil wrong to a crime. The full list of her lies to Brian, Liz, and Bethany alone are simply astounding. When Sarah went on Dr. Phil to supposedly come clean about everything, she started by portraying herself as some kind of victim, which is never a good sign.
I have a lying addiction. The last 8 years, I've done all kinds of extreme measures to make my life seem more exciting.
She implied she had everything for attention rather than any kind of financial incentive, and started by saying her first big lie was faking cancer, when, keep in mind, she had faked pregnancies even before that. Also blamed what she did on an addiction, as if it wasn't her fault or she couldn't control it.
I didn't mean to hurt you guys the way that I did. Just such a compulsion that I couldn't control. Sarah, it's way more than a compulsion. I mean, even just on that video, you're saying it's just an addiction to lying. This is way bigger and much more sick than just an addiction to lying. I don't even believe a word you're saying.
Obviously, things could never be patched up between Sarah and her victims that easily, especially since she wasn't being forthcoming with the truth. She had a large impact on her friends' lives, as well as stealing time and resources from those around her who were truly disabled. This was not a case of spilled milk.
You ruined our life. You took me away from my life, my family, my other friends, hours every day.
You've infiltrated a sacred circle, and you are worse than cancer. Do you hear me?
Better yet, when asked what wrong she had committed or how exactly she hurt these people she had called her friends, she couldn't muster up even a shred of a satisfactory response, making her come across as a bona fide sociopath.
What have you done to her?
I mean, just lying to her and taking her away from her family and her friends and, you know, the stuff that she, work and the stuff that's important to her life as well.
You see the problem? Here's the problem. It's because she doesn't know how to stand in your shoes because she doesn't have empathy. And that's why she said, well, I wasted her time. I wasted her time. That's why there's no genuine remorse here.
Some speculate she is one, considering how she accidentally smiled while describing her myriad of lies, as if she were taking pleasure in an accomplishment.
It took a lot of mental brain power to have to keep up the charade. If you're, playing, hockey and you want to hit the puck, you want to hold the stick and hit the puck, you can't do that. And you have this, you want to just grab the stick and do it yourself, but you have to refrain from doing it.
After her appearance on Dr. Phil in 2019, she would be charged with defrauding 2 nonprofit organizations and taking up cases at the camp and summit that should have rightfully gone to genuinely disabled individuals. In 2020, she would plead guilty to the charges, as well as confessing obtaining a $5,000 bike for free by buying it, then reporting the charge as fraudulent. In 2021, she was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, and evidence presented during demonstrated that she had been conning unsuspecting individuals since 2006. She was released from prison in March 2022. 2022 would see an entire true crime podcast being made to cover her extensive history of lying, attempting to unravel her complicated motives in the process. The investigation covered other people she had lied to, which hadn't been touched on in the Dr. Phil episode, including telling people she was trapped in abusive relationships or that she was a mother who had lost her children. It's clear that she's suffering from a severe personality disorder or sociopathy, and whether she will ever truly get help or change her ways is unknown. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
Bruh.
Okay.
Ooh, the right opinion video.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Right Opinion, the home of a twat with too much free time. And businesses on YouTube, whether we like it or not, they're here to stay. And in many cases, I try not to view their presence as a wholly negative one. It's important to remember that one of our primary purposes as creators is to bring entertainment to those who use the platform. And if a channel can do that, whoever it's run by, then we can broadly agree that it's a net positive for audiences. Businesses will always occupy a realm of YouTube, and I do believe there can be a peaceful coexistence. At the same time, there will always be tension. To be honest, it's understandable why more grassroots creators feel unnerved by their presence. Businesses have so much more power and resources at their fingertips to outflank independent YouTubers in many aspects of quality control. They can create high production pieces in a few days that would take an individual upwards of a month, bombing the algorithm with a myriad of content that often gives what many would perceive an unfair advantage to them against the humble creator. When market domination comes from a few large corporations, the outcome for the consumer is generally not particularly positive. It leads to less diversity in general and more control of narratives by a select few people. And in industries that are already prone enough to corruption, it's anything but healthy. YouTube was built on the notion of allowing a person to broadcast themselves without the necessary investment of a larger business, so they didn't have to dance to anyone's tune. Many people would like to keep it that way. Fortunately, there will always be people who will occupy these spaces regardless of their market success. But at the same time, it's still good to have individual figures in influential positions who can represent a human aspect to content creation. And although businesses have certainly made more inroads on the platform than they used to, there will always be that window of authenticity that's to separate many of them from the personally driven passion projects. The truth is, one thing that is hard to fabricate is that individual enthusiasm one has for a subject they cover. And although not impossible, many large businesses simply don't see it as a required component for success. And as channels like Looper, Minute Crafts, whatever they're called, and the rest have shown, you really don't need that much framework on personality to succeed. In fact, avoiding building any personal image ensures that they keep any components that may change disposable, and that ultimately, control of the content is still centralized on the people who run the channel, and not those they may outsource a variety of the work to. This formula means there is a boundary for more independent content and more detached corporate presentations. However, just because there's a rule doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions, particularly in the community that we're focusing on today. Commentary is a genre that large corporations tend to avoid infiltrating, particularly given the aforementioned paragraph. Having a personality is almost essential to the content you're producing. Even if you're merely presenting information, viewers expect at least a pizzazz. Audience members want to build a relationship based on trust with the person they're listening to. How can you do that when you don't even know if there's a real person behind the channel? However, this doesn't mean that there aren't some willing to take the risk, and one subgenre of commentary knows this all too well, that being the tea community.
A popular YouTube channel is about to hit 1 million subscribers. They showed up out of nowhere almost a year ago, and the people want to know, who is Spill?
A few years ago, there was a drama in the community that surrounded a channel called Spill. Spill is a channel that hosts numerous videos with high production value and an astonishing upload schedule given those said videos. They also hosted a syndicate of channels alongside Spill, including Brew, Grill, and On the Hill. I'll speak more about them in the future, but a video they uploaded covering their origin at the time had made them seem more homegrown than they actually were.
Spill started out a two-person passion project. One of us has a background in journalism, the other has a background in illustration and video editing. We both love YouTube news and drama. Who doesn't? We wanted to create a channel that had a more journalistic approach to YouTube drama. A thorough recap of all sides of a story with proper citations. On top of that, we wanted to give something back to the community by contributing to the conversation with an educational approach. And while a lot of people choose to do creative projects while being self-employed, as soon as more than one person is working on a big project together, it's legally the best option to register as a corporation.
The reality was that Spill and their accompanying were part of a larger company that had branched out into the tea community, and although people involved with the channel were actually quite interested in the stories that they covered, they weren't exactly how they portrayed themselves, and that gave some in the community reason for pause.
Now, I looked online and found out that AWED Corp became incorporated in 2013. I even paid the Canadian government to get AWED Corp's certificate of incorporation.
So my question to you is pretty simple. Who are you going to believe? Spill saying that the corporation was a reaction to their 2018 YouTube channel growing? Or the Canadian government saying that this corporation has been around since 2013?
The tea community appeared to be a target for companies and content farms who had been looking for a way to capitalize on the evident draw of commentary channels. What makes tea channels so attractive to businesses, though? Well, I think it's because they often integrate reporting of factual or speculative information in a rather straightforward manner. It's not difficult to grasp, but in cases like Spill, all they had to do was attempt to cut out bias from the reporters themselves. So although a channel like a tea channel, it was more over a news channel covering tea topics with a nice presentation. And any attempts to add personality, such as their grill channel, have not attracted that much attention because of it. With that in mind, the Spill family hasn't taken up too much space despite their impressive collective size, and other up-and-coming creators have still been able to carve out a niche for themselves, one of those being the subject of today. A channel by the name Anna Oop.
Hey loves, your girl is back with some extra hot tea this time. Y'all are not gonna believe the drama that went down this week.
Anna Oop is a tea channel who has grown to be one of the most influential creators in her sphere, with over 2 million subscribers on her main channel and nearly 4 million subscribers when counting her other channels, focusing more on true crime.
Did you guys ever see any of the TikTok videos about Isabel? What did you think when you saw them? I can't wait to read your thoughts and discussions down in the comments below.
Her all-American girl charm and sassy nature is well complemented by editing with real personality behind it, resulting in content that appears to have captured the hearts of many viewers, with her true crime content garnering popularity for being a bite-sized accessible breakdown of often very complex cases. All in all, she seems to be the prime example of individual success in the face of a climate that is becoming more and more demanding of creators, with thousands tuning into her channels every day to hear that voice and the person behind it. But was there more to this humble 21-year-old than meets the eye? Well, today we're going to be doing some investigating of our own, following Anna Oop's timeline and seeing whether this success story was really as organic as it seemed. Ladies, gentlemen, and all other colors on the light spectrum, let's look into the mystery of inventing Anna Oop. The YouTube channel for Anna Oop was created in May 2019. It's hard to really say too much about them at this point, as many of their videos from back then were deleted, and I do want to save a bit of information for later. But I think from the off, Anna knew what sort of creator she wanted to be, particularly with a name like that, which refers to a popular meme that regularly circulates around the beauty and other communities.
I crashed in my back seat for a couple of hours, and
The video started off quite modestly with a style that was similar to many other tea channels at the time. Content that delivered information in a mostly verbally free text format over copyright-free soundtracks, being interspersed with the relevant clips of the discourse. The topics she chose were also those which were long established to have proven dividends for creators. These subjects mostly included large influencers and even celebrities such as Ariana Grande or Bretman Rock. Not all of these videos were necessarily unbiased or journalistic, some of them were heavily opinionated, such as her videos on Nikita Dragon.
I just want her to ward, and she won't ward.
These are all important aspects of an individual's relationship with an audience, whether it be positive or negative. There are people who like Nikita Dragon, there are people who do not like Nikita Dragon. But having people who care is already half the battle to engage them with your videos. Such content drives up engagement and encourages people to like, dislike, and leave their comments. However, if you're only known to be a dedicated hater, then you're not really going to build much potential with your viewers. Your takes still need to be somewhat reasonable and elaborated from their point of view, and Anna Oop did that for many people. Her strong skills in production conveying digestible, if lightweight information, garnered her an audience very quickly. And when I say very quickly, I mean nearly immediately. By the time December 2019 came around, Anna was already approaching 50,000 subscribers, something that few creators could merely dream of in the first 8 months of their content creation. But subscribers weren't the only thing she was building. Most importantly, she was building a rapport with those who viewed her, and she knew the importance of this. She'd regularly advertise her Twitter and Instagram so she could promote fan art of herself, and was seemingly an active member of the community at this time, talking with audience members and fellow creators. She had a few gimmicks as well. The most interesting one was calling her viewers and people she interacted with love, an intentional misspelling of a word that mean a term of endearment in certain places. They were building a persona with identifiable yet unique characteristics, and people were tuning in for them, yet there was more work to be done. Heading into the new year 2020, Anna seemed determined to take her channel to the next level. In January, she switched from the commonly used text format to using her own voice. Normally, you'd think there would be more of an announcement or at least some build-up to such a change in format. You'd think there could be some attention in a voice reveal at least, but it seems they didn't want to make a scene, and I can't blame her for that. The first documented video to use her voice is the upload on Nikki Tutorials, and given the subject, Anna's somber tone appears to be appropriate.
Of course, many people are all pretty mad about this and want to know who did this to Nikki. There's been a lot of speculations, and some people are even accusing famous speakers and some of Nikki's closest friends. There were even rumors that one of the blackmailers was the company Two-Faced, who had previously manipulated Nikki into going into a deal with them where she lost millions.
Although at first Anna Oop's delivery on subjects appears quite subdued, with each passing month she seemed to find more and more zest when covering these topics, gradually transforming into the more bold and brash character people are familiar with today. However, it wasn't just what was being said on YouTube that was important to Anna. Throughout the year, she said about many ways that would familiarize the viewers with her as a person.
Hi loves, your girl is back again. So today we're going to talk about Tana Mongeau's infamous reality TV show on MTV. And y'all, this show really ain't it.
In spring 2020, Anna's existing Twitter account was deleted, seemingly suspended, and a number of videos were purged from her channel. The reason being somewhat unknown, as many of these videos exactly poorly performing, but it seemed to work, as the summer of 2020 found Anna increasing her view and subscriber count at breakneck pace. However, she went without her challenges. In May 2020, Anna's channel was demonetized by YouTube, who cited unoriginal content being the reason. Anna took to Twitter to dispute this, highlighting the amount of work that she puts into her channel. Given the amount of secondhand material used by T-channels, this isn't a rare occurrence, as YouTube often struggles to distinguish the two. Anna also used her platform to stick up for another creator who found themselves in a similar situation. She also found the time to be outspoken in support for social causes such as BLM, the Lebanon crisis, and LGBT rights, characterizing them as causes that meant a lot to her. She'd post memes, provide opinions, celebrate her birthday, which was on the 12th of July, and even hosted a Twitter Q&A, all of which enabled her to build a closer relationship with her viewers. Some of her answers were a little nondescript. You can't expect a creator to be comfortable with giving all their personal details out to the public. With that said, her favorite film series is The Hunger Games, her favorite animal is a koala bear, and her favorite game is Roblox. They weren't surprising details, but they were meaningful to those who supported her, and her personality only became more iconic.
Ugh, we love an unbothered queen.
In the space of barely a year and a half, Anna Oop had transformed the landscape of the tea community into one suitable for her. Her strong production value and excellent upload schedule, paired with an identifiable character, made her a force to be reckoned with, and Anna knew the importance of retaining people who cared about her. She wanted people to get to know her for who she was, and she wanted people to know her appreciation for them, even occasionally tweeting out love and gratitude to those who helped her find success in an often challenging industry. However, Anna was never one to rest on her laurels. In fact, her success had only made her more ambitious, and on the 3rd of December, she tweeted that she was working on a new channel that she thought her viewers were going to love. What was Anna Oop cooking? Well, we were about to find out.
Not every case is the same, and plenty of unsolved cases still desperately need to be solved.
It's really hard to think of a more significant development to the YouTube community in the last few years than that of the true crime genre. Now, true crime has always possessed a presence in mainstream media. It long pre-existed YouTube and will probably long outlast it. However, the storytelling aspect appears to have taken its grasp in the last few years, with many creators garnering millions of subscribers for their coverage of criminal cases, solved and unsolved. There's always been a bit of stigma around the inclusion of such topics, particularly given the fact that it's being published to potentially millions of people, and some would rather have it out of the spotlight. Nonetheless, the consensus seems to be that if these topics are treated with the due amount of respect, then there is a place for them. Interestingly, there seems to be a decent overlap between tea and beauty community and true crime, with certain true crime creators having beauty roots, with some still integrating it into their videos. And it seems that Anna pertained that same penchant for the morbid. It was clear that by the end of December, her new channel was going to be true crime related.
The 18-year-old boy has been arrested for allegedly killing his neighbor to get more followers and fame on TikTok.
The first video was uploaded on the 5th of January. It followed the story of a TikToker who had slain his neighbors for fame. It was a suitably macabre topic, though Anna's voice does take a bit of getting used to in this context. Honestly, she did more down when she was talking about Nikki tutorials.
According to Zach's public defense lawyers, the video shows her telling the neighbors to get off their property. She told them that they better back up because they're not going to like what's coming out of the house. Sounds like a threat, right?
Nonetheless, the video was well received and accumulated a strong view count, with the channel approaching 100,000 subscribers in the space of a few days, a surprising statistic all things considered. But it must have reflected the strong cult of personality that someone like Anna Oop had, and in the next month she continued to upload consistently on the Anna Soul channel. Pretty impressive considering that she still had a main channel to run as well. And in spite of what may have appeared as time constraints, she also managed to maintain an upload schedule on there as well. Fortunately, most of these videos were limited to approximately 10 minutes at most, which likely allowed her to divide her time fairly evenly between the two projects. However, although she was still experiencing growth on her main channel, the true crime one appeared to be experiencing the greatest proportional success, accruing over 300,000 subscribers by the time April came around. With such impressive statistic, you might expect one to consolidate their achievements and focus on how to make sure that such levels of commitment can be preserved. But Anna had different ideas. In June of the same year, launched another channel, this one called Anna Horror Stories, which, as the name implies, comprises of Anna recounting the rather unnerving tales of it, that recently has pivoted towards more list-style content. Nonetheless, another channel? I mean, I respect the commitment to the grind, but it seems like a lot to keep at, though. To be fair, this channel's content didn't seem the highest effort either. The writing is someone else's and the footage is pretty standard. Anna may have just been looking to make a pretty penny. However, barely a couple weeks after the first upload on this channel, Anna was back on Twitter again, polling people for her next channel, asking what a good name would be, and quote tweeting another person saying that this would be looking more into the psychological side of criminal behavior. On the surface, it's not unfeasible, but it's certainly surprising given Anna has no apparent background in criminal psychology. She already has a true crime channel and more than enough on her plate to worry about. It seemed like a lot to be planning ahead for when she barely had any opportunity to gauge the amount of time she'd be able to bounce between her already active 3 channels and an additional 4th one, but maybe she really was just that inspired. However, this idea appeared to stagnate a little and developments over the coming months, with a tweet at the start of September explaining that her lack of activity on social media was due to some personal stuff she'd been going through, and with all things considered, this was understandable. Her status as a large influencer had landed her in some drama. Probably the most notable example of this was her feud with that vegan teacher, a controversial figure whose promotion of veganism has been overshadowed by her altercations with other online figures and accompanying contentious remarks.
Does this girl seem to you like she might be naturally intelligent, gorgeous, generous?
Anna's responses weren't the most intellectual, sometimes merely consisting to the genius content of eating a burger, but that vegan teacher was an easy target, and it allowed Anna to repeatedly dunk on a person who'd already been widely lampooned by the internet.
I just know that vegan teacher is probably reacting to this video by pausing it every second just to throw accusations about me saying that this evil monster who hates animals and wants them killed. But girl, I don't want to pretend that I wouldn't die for a hot, juicy, big, steamy burger on a daily basis.
If I find drama interesting, I'd probably say more, but it at least established a more queen side to Anna Oop, and persisted for the rest of the year. Although drama isn't known to be the most fun to be involved in, Anna seemed to capitalize on the opportunity to make sassy comments about all those who were hating on her, all while continuing to upload consistent channels and initiating work on other projects, including launching a Roblox channel which would allow audiences to game with her. Additionally, she finally launched the Anna Uncovered channel, the first video being uploaded at the end of November with a runtime of 18 minutes.
While being interviewed by the authorities, police gradually became suspicious of Jennifer because the burglary seemed out of the ordinary. Why would the burglars take out 2 witnesses but decide to spare one who had clearly seen what they'd done? It made no sense whatsoever.
However, the zenith of her online career appeared to be approaching in December of 2021. There had long been questions about the person behind Anna Oop's channel, and a face reveal had long been sought after by the most dedicated viewers of her channel. Anna had teased this before, but with her hitting 2 million subscribers, it felt like a celebration was in order. Anna continued to drop a variety of hints and clues to all that would be revealed, seemingly with a song titled Face Reveal, which really could only imply one thing, especially given the teaser trailers that were posted by Anna herself. Finally, people would have a face to put to this commentator, and viewers were excited. And on the 3rd of December, the video for Face Reveal was uploaded. Yeah! Shot.
Reporting live, your favorite tea channel. She's such a liar.
What the fuck was that?
Hell yeah. Mask off. Look at mask off.
You said time is relative, beauty is relative, family is relative. But Gabby, let's be real. Bitch, you're just irrelevant.
Anna Oop's face reveal contains a series of call-outs to other creators she has previously clashed with and spoken about. But the only person really being the subject of any criticism during this video was her. Face reveal was ridiculed for its subpar production quality and delivery, but also for the simple fact that it did not contain a face reveal. In the video itself, Anna says she wishes she could, but clearly felt that it was not the appropriate time, and later expands on this on Twitter, saying that she was going to, but afraid that she would have to deal with too much negativity. And I understand, I suppose, but why would you make a video titled Face Reveal in the first place then, if the whole point of it was not to reveal your face? Well, Anna said she thought it was just going to be a fun little goof. It's hard to buy that someone as algorithmically adept as Anna would not know the implications of advertising a face reveal on an otherwise faceless channel. But maybe the stress from other drama had just impacted her judgment a little. And yet, a few days before this, she had just launched another channel?
On top of this, y'all, Anna Oop is also known for her problematic personality. She's been in scandal after scandal, constantly getting into drama herself. I mean, I think it's about time we see Anna actually do a video on herself. Oh.
This was just too much for one person, and surely she was spreading herself incredibly thin by doing so. And not too long after, this theory may well have been proven correct. Now, there had always been stigma around Anna's channel, but a lot of the criticisms up to a point were quite subjective. Her opinions were poorly formed, her attitude was annoying, and her content was clickbaity. They may have all held some validity, but that doesn't tend to make a particularly catching discussion to those outside of the sphere. However, a couple weeks after Face reveal, Anna put out an interesting post on her Twitter and YouTube community tab, complaining that a person had copyright struck her without justification or ownership of content that she'd been uploading. She also singled out the channel that had copyright struck her, a channel by the name of Truthful Reality, another true creator who had covered some of these same stories before Anna. On superficial inspection, one can't necessarily claim ownership of topics, and a strike on a channel for doing so would be wholly unjustified. However, as Anna's tweet and YouTube community post began to pick up traction, a growing backlash from viewers began to form, many of whom stating that Truthful Reality had claimed footage that he personally owned and published solely, and Anna had directly lifted this without any transformative value. Not quite the story that Anna had told. Viewers also did not appreciate the fact that Anna had linked his channel, and although not accompanied by any call to action, the risk of harassment from an emotionally charged post like this was always present, with some even claiming that Anna had purposefully ignored any chance to peacefully resolve this matter privately, only now taking umbrage after actions were taken against her channel. I suppose it's in the nature of some more irreverent people in the community to behave this way, but this is Anna Souls, not Anna Oop, and many people who are part of these communities think that respect is an inherent part of creating content in this genre, but that appeared to be just the tip of the iceberg. Barely a few days before all of this, a post had gone up on Reddit entitled Anna Oop, aka Anna Rolf's At It Again, which documented the alleged plagiarism from a YouTuber by the name of Mr. Ballon, a channel with millions of subscribers. It was clear that this video had been removed very promptly from Anna's channel following call-outs from commenters though, and any of its presence had been long erased. Additionally, barely a few days after the Anna Soul channel went live, a couple comments appeared on her Twitter requesting her to refrain from stealing content. That was in January, and now we were in December. It seems that rumors have been circulating regarding stolen content on this channel for a while, but only seemed to surface when Anna herself decided to publicly attack another creator for what they perceived as an unjust copyright strike. I can't really comment on the legality of the copyright strike, as it can be a very grey area, but it definitely shone a light on what many perceive to be extensively lazy reporting from a creator who was not actually putting time into these cases that they deserve. Claims of plagiarism are not that common, particularly given that the cases themselves can be sourced from a lot of places, so this occurring twice in the span of a very short time was a red flag for some viewers. Some other concerns appear to address the idea that Anna didn't pronounce the names of people involved correctly and regularly made errors in reporting information. This is all important in the narrative of stolen content, as a person who lifts content may not be familiar with the subject enough to possess this knowledge, and will therefore make errors in reporting the actual details, copying content without actually understanding the subtext.
Today we're going to talk about Nikocado Avocado disrespecting Veronica Vane.
I had come across this a few times when researching a few of Anna Oop's main channel videos and tried not to pay too much mind to it, as I've made more than enough pronunciation and semantic errors in my time. But there was just still something strange about certain mistakes that struck me off as somebody supposedly so involved in the beauty community. Like, how could you spell Jacqueline that way when you've literally used the correct spelling in the title? It just didn't make sense. I'd read rumors that the reason for this was to drive up impressions by having people correct you in the comments. And although it's impossible to confirm, it's certainly something to consider with channels this supposedly deliberate, and particularly relevant with Anna's true crime, where such shortcomings could be perceived as seriously disrespectful. Given Anna Oop's upload schedule, it seems their final choice was to drop the matter entirely and just create more videos, which she did. In fact, approaching the end of 2022, between her now 5 channels, she was uploading nearly every day. The tweet regarding Truth for Reality was deleted, and no content that was subject to the copyright claims was ever restored to her channel. However, this situation did place a mark over the genuinity of her content, and made people wonder how much of her channel was original. After all, it wouldn't be the first time that this was called into question. Anna Oop's videos were well produced, they looked nice, they had eye-catching titles and thumbnails, and love her or hate her, Anna had a personality that provoked a response from audiences. She had a lot going for her. It wouldn't have taken that much to do just a bit more research to avoid errors and any risk of lifting other people's content. Yet all that was being put online for videos that Anna didn't need or have to create. It didn't make sense for a person to behave this way. It didn't make sense for a person to behave this way. Anna's face reveal may not have gone exactly as many would have expected.
Face responded with, "Thank you, Queen. I probably should have mentioned somewhere that you gave me some tips. I completely understand everyone's concerns in the comments. Love you too." And this comment, can I just say, has since been deleted. The admission that the thumbnails were created at that point by Anna Oop was all I needed to then go and do some dirty investigation.
This is pretty damning information, particularly when combined with the collective research prior. It proved that there was an undeniable connection between Butterface and Anna Oop, and if Butterface was indeed as corporate as they appear to be, then unless they fooled Anna too, there was no real alternative explanation for how such a scenario could have transpired. If Anna truly was a friend, then unfortunately that friend was a business. I assume this was a shock to some, but I think most who followed the situation were just waiting for their suspicions to be confirmed. The truth was that we were seeing one person supposedly pumping out up to an hour of highly produced yet fundamentally hollow content every week. It simultaneously was too bad and too good to be true.
Butterface has not returned. And I think it's because they know that they done goof, because the comments underneath, a lot of people are beginning to realize that this is a conglomerate, and especially when it comes down to straight up stealing other people's content, this is now majorly overstepping a line.
The evidence had been stacking up for a while, but with all of it accumulating in one place, it enabled people to understand the depth of this masquerade. Behind it, a very telling story about Anna Oop. This person who had used their status as a self-proclaimed human being to tell stories, plead their case with YouTube on multiple occasions, and even talk about personal challenges going on in their life, was simply not a person at all. And there was no way that anyone involved had merely accidentally acted like an individual. This was a fully committed facade, filled to the brim with first-person pronouns. They knew what they were doing, and they were making a killing from it.
Sheesh.
But who were they? Well, there was still a little more to uncover.
One channel that kept coming up when I would do a thumbnail search for thumbnails that look similar to it was a channel called Rumored. Then I went into Rumored's featured channels and I came across another channel called This Happened. As you can see, they all have the same thumbnail style. And then from This Happened, I went and checked out their featured channels tab, and would you look at it, there are some people there that we should recognize. One person called Anna Uncovered.
In Paige's video, she showed that there appeared to be a nexus of channels connected to each other. Some were channels that did masquerade as individual creators, whereas others were presented under the more corporate pretense. However, on researching one of the channel's URLs, Paige found something else.
Is that all of the rest of the channel did not have a customized HTML. So their YouTube HTML is youtube.com/c/Daniel O Games. Daniel with the O being massive, Games, uppercase S, lowercase s. So one of the jobs it shows is female voice artist for big celeb channels, as well as the second one that was posted 29th of November, which is an American female voice artist for a celeb channel. So the advert reads as follows: they need 10 freelancers. Hello, we are a company called Video Creation Hub. We own several YouTube channels, and one of them is in the celebrity niche. To give you an example of the style of work that we're after, check out these channels. And one of them is the channel This Happened, and the other channel is Pop Juice.
This led down a further rabbit hole which revealed two companies, Crealon and Video Creation, both of whom specialized in one thing: YouTube automation.
So O works for Video Creation Hub, which are the people who created this Upwork advert. And on LinkedIn, they state that they are a content writer, a freelance writer, and a contributing writer. But not only do they work for the Video Creation Hub, they also work for another company called Crealon Media. So the Video Creation Hub essentially is a company that considers YouTube profiles as real estate. They do something that they call YouTube automation.
In essence, these companies are specially designed to build and consolidate large channels in their fan bases. They know how to communicate with the Gen Z mind. Ugh. They don't really list their techniques on the page, trade secrets I suppose, but then again I feel at this point it's somewhat evident. So this began to paint another very different picture. There may be actually individuals behind the channels themselves, but the production comes from a third-party company who turns that concept into a content farm. Page then provides further evidence to support this, and it begins to look a bit dystopian, honestly.
An editor from Blank. Passionate about music, entertainment, writing, Dee has put her love for them together and specializes in music and entertainment journalism. Currently, Dee is a scriptwriter at Crealon Media Group, where she writes several scripts a week for the Butterface YouTube channel.
Creolum Media appears aiming for a plethora of genres in the coming months, advertising roles in channels relating to soccer, tech-based horror, rap music. They're essentially shooting for world domination. On the next
Hell yeah!
This was daunting.
These people essentially create entire automated channels with voiceover artists, with writers, with researchers, with editors, with thumbnail creators, with graphic designers, with producers, with literally just everything it is that you could possibly need to have a channel and make it run.
There was really very little to add at the end of Paige's videos. She channels the frustration of an individual creator who sees many of her peers struggling to keep up with the sort of farm that companies like Creolon and Video Creation Hub are operating. Not necessarily being bothered by their existence, but more about the lie they wanted to present themselves as one of us. Paige also made a follow-up video where she briefly spoke to Truth for Reality and gave his side the more attention as well.
Yeah, I reached out to her on 2 occasions. I wasn't going to strike the videos, I just wanted her to credit my work. No response. So then they tried to threaten me through emails with a lawyer. The whole thing is a joke. It really wasn't that serious to me. So then I asked him if he had a copy of the email it was that he was sent by Anna Salt.
And
he basically said to me, he said that he doesn't have it, and that the account that they emailed from tried to email him a PDF file. He says that those are often used for malicious attacks, so he blocked the account and erased the entire thread. So take that information whichever way you want to. I'm more inclined to believe this young man, only because it's not just him who's saying it. There are several people echoing the same sentiment, and several people who came over to my video unprovoked to tell me the exact same thing, that Anna steals content from other content creators.
This was arguably the most serious claim relating to the drama, and certainly asked more of the companies behind the channels. It also placed the ball firmly in the court of Anna Oop, Butterface, and the rest of the channel syndicate. However, their response was more to erase evidence. As noted in Paige's video, the comment from Anna was quickly deleted after it was discovered. The video that comment appeared on was subsequently set to private as well. The large majority of leads that Paige followed in her video were removed or hidden. Although Anna would later use the phrase "our videos" on Twitter, this seems to be the closest that there is to an acknowledgement that this is more than one person. However, in a way, sometimes a lack of response can be considered a response in itself. Outside the occasional tweet, Anna Oop's social media accounts largely fell silent. They stopped posting on their community tab altogether on each of their channels and just returned to the regular upload schedule. Anna Oop still has a personality, unfortunately, but outside the content there is no real attempt to build a fan base. Anna Plays, the channel that was designed to cultivate a closer relationship between the channel and the audience, uploaded their last video in May 2022 and has been dormant since. Interestingly, not nearly a month after, another channel returned to the platform, Butterface, with a video about drag queen drama. What a surprise. Their video on the topic of a queen pretending to be a relative to defend themselves was at least somewhat ironic, but the description was what was even more interesting. Here they drop the guise of being an individual person and admit that they are operated by a company and realize the ethical qualms of behaving in such a way. They want to do better and have since adapted a more corporate format to distinguish themselves from other individual creators. This wouldn't have been a bad response if this had been their response. Unfortunately, they already had one shot at explaining themselves, and many people consider this apology to be a result of their failure to maintain the masquerade. I think the apology also rang hollow in the greater sense as well, but other channels that were seemingly friends with Butterface and were proven to be a part of this syndicate, most notably Anna Oop, were still using personal branding to do just what Butterface admitted to be unethical. But sometimes friends have different opinions, I suppose.
I'm sorry, but why does every Kardashian or Jenner out there try to ruin their memes by profiting off them and reusing them over and over again?
Nonetheless, the apology did serve as strong confirmation for the broader theory surrounding these channels, and ultimately proved that no matter what was hidden, the explanation remained the same. Anna Oop was not who they said they were, and they were just one of the many channels that began to infiltrate the creator sphere. Who knows what these channels are or if we can even identify them. But regardless, if Butterface or Anna Oop's presence meant anything, it meant that they were already here. It's a pretty simple observation to make, but I think what bothered people the most was just the lie in the first place. It's not like this was the only way for corporate channels to survive in the 21st century. There is more than enough proof you can thrive in your own space regardless of who owns you, and there are more than enough successful channels to demonstrate that. They just wanted a piece of the pie, and it makes sense in a way. Personally fronted YouTube channels have far better audience retention. Compare a channel like Anna Oop with PopJuice. PopJuice presently has 129 million views with 220,000 subscribers. Oop had 440,000 subscribers with half the amount of cumulative views. The whole reason retention is higher is because viewers think you're a real person, which might be considered a bit of a deal breaker when you're not. So, who is the real Anna Oop? As we kind of found out already, there's certainly a degree of deception involved in the curation of these channels. But when establishing the timeline for this situation, you'll realize there are more smoke and mirrors that had not been accounted for. Let's start from the top with one simple factoid that we know to be true. Anna Oop's channel was launched the 12th of May 2019. That makes sense to this timeline given the channel's subsequent success in the following years. However, we also know that around the start of 2020, Anna Oop conducted an overhaul on their channel. Their social media accounts and a large number of videos were subsequently deleted. I can't give you the exact reason why without speculation, but I did say I would return to this point, and that's because there is something interesting about their original Twitter that has been preserved, and that is the use of plural pronouns to describe their channel. At first when I found it, I assumed that it could be a typo, but it kept appearing and appearing and appearing to a point where I assumed that it must have been intentional. Anna Oop started out as a corporate channel that knew to an extent it was just that. Although there seemed to be an individual person assigned to their social media, the channel was quite transparent about it being more than one person. However, by May 2020, this had completely changed, and even their YouTube description read that they were a 21-year-old girl from America, which I always found such a strange detail to include in their channel because I don't think that many people could care enough about their about page to update it with every passing birthday. The switch to voiceovers at the start of the new year also changed the game with respect to how Anna operated. They moved towards this more personal bond with their audience and began to integrate things like birthdays, Q&As, things that would draw people in. It was the next step of the business model. This one didn't raise too many objections at the time because it seemed like a natural progression, revealing something personal about yourself. It all seemed fair and square. However, with the next step, the expansion, some more evidence of suspicious behavior emerges.
So their YouTube page email is youtube.com/c/Daniel O Games. Daniel with the O being massive, Games uppercase, lowercase s.
When watching Betty Page's video, I was surprised when she mentioned Pop Juice's URL, that being of Daniello Games. I struggled to really think what Daniello and his games had to do with a social media channel covering trending topics. But more interestingly, I'd noticed this when researching the Anna franchise earlier on the day. What do I mean by this? The interesting detail about Anna's secondary projects is that Anna Solves, Anna Uncovered, and Anna Horror Stories channels were seemingly founded before Anna Oop's own channel was. Now, this wasn't something dubious beyond doubt. Plenty of people have old channels they may revamp for content production, but it certainly made one curious. And then you go to the archives of these channels, and on each of these accounts you will find an old screenshot of the channel belonging to someone who seemingly has no relation to Anna Oop whatsoever. These channels typically display around a 5-figure subscriber count and seemingly all relate to Hispanic content creators, which I also found to be a very strange connection. So it appears the people behind the Anna Oop channel purchased these channels as they believed it would maximize their chances for subscriber growth, which also explains why Anna was so close to reaching 100,000 subscribers so soon after their first video on the Anna Solves channel. However, turning to this theory today, I hit a roadblock because the Anna Horror Stories channel that I pulled up said it was created in June 2020, which would have been around the time the channel went live. I took a moment to wonder whether I just made a mistake. It wouldn't be the first time, but I thought I'd retrace my steps to the tweet promoting the channel. I followed the link on the tweets, and then it hit me. There are two different Anna Horror Stories channels. Has anyone ever noticed this? It appears the second Anna Horror Stories channel had picked up where the first one left off, stopping on the first channel in May and resuming on the second channel in June. My guess would be monetization issues as I didn't see any ads on the first channel, but it's still an utterly bizarre situation. Normally you'd expect Anna to take to Twitter, but there's just this strange period of radio silence, and no evidence that they ever attempted to have the lack of monetization on that channel change, which is also surprising given they regularly complain to YouTube when they feel they've been maltreated. Perhaps this time they kinda knew what they were doing was wrong and didn't want to attract attention to it, but that's just a guess. Beyond the assumption these channels were bought, I mean, I doubt Anna was also a male Mexican gamer in their spare time, the Anna Horror Stories channel's URL was advertised at a forum a few weeks before the Anna Horror Stories channel was launched. The link speaks for itself. Now, on principle, I don't really mind people trading accounts. People can cultivate what they want and pass it on for all I care. However, buying accounts often does be the very dangerous side of YouTube, the one where people hack accounts to sell them on. I'm sure we all know creators who had their channel turned into a Tesla fan page recently. It's not fun. And although I doubt the team behind Anna Oop is hacking these channels themselves, it definitely speaks to the corporate approach of content farms they wouldn't consider that they're participating in. In the case of the Anna Horror Stories channel, despite previously being a Spanish-speaking channel, it was being advertised by an American or Canadian user whose approval for monetization message was written in English. It's not evidence beyond a doubt because Spanish-speaking people do live in America, but it's food for thought, yet it's not something that Anna's team would ever think or care about themselves. As they expanded, they assumedly hired more and more people for these channels, and having less ability to actually critically stay in touch with the content they were creating. In a way, ironically, this worked somewhat to their advantage, whereas a channel like Spill's content drew suspicion for being too good for a single person, Anna Oop and their accompanying channels never had to worry about that. They occupied this position where they could pull off the act of being human through what appeared to be human error. But just because something's human doesn't mean it's good. In the meantime, their social media started drawing with a variety of creators, especially easy targets that would embolden their status in the community, calling out others and using a face reveal bait to launch a diss track on all their detractors. It all pointed to one thing: Anna Oop et al. Weren't just a content farm, they were a bad content farm, and the only way they were able to keep their feet on the ground in this genre was pretending to be a singular person and simply outmaneuvering all the actual people by rigging an algorithm in their favor by buying channels and strafe-running content, while all holding hollow opinions that align with viewers to keep them watching. And the worst thing about it is that it completely, 100% worked. There's one more point I want regarding Butterface's apology, and that's a video that was published alongside it.
Fans wanted to get to the bottom of things themselves, and even one fan tweeted Trinity and asked her point blank if the account was hers, to which she responded, "Oh yes, I'm still on Reddit." You might be thinking, "Ooh girl, that sounds like a confession." Well, it is, but it also isn't, if that makes sense.
It's not exactly an objectionable video, but it's so strange seeing a channel that is a self-admitted corporation trying to use jargon with intonations that it doesn't feel like they can ever truly understand. Sure, they've dropped the guise that they're a real person, they've said they understand why it's ethically questionable to do so, but they're still trying to pull off that attitude that garnered them the attention in the first place. But the knowledge that there are people behind the scenes pulling the strings to make this video appealing to you, it just feels rather weird. Audiences like to feel they're in control of the content they consume, and that's where the difference between a rather generic corporate channel and one that's trying to yassify their view count comes into play. A middle ground corporate channel just wants the view, the click. It's a transactional thing that both parties are aware of. These channels, though, they do something different. They commercialize the viewer's connection with the community and the culture that comes with it, so they appropriate parts of it to appeal to people. To be honest, it's not that I think it's inherently immoral to do that, but I think it does make people uncomfortable, and I don't think people are often willing to support a channel like that, which is probably the guise of an individual person is always going to be more effective, even if you gave a corporation personality. Unfortunately, it's just not believable that there are a bunch of guys in suits who are genuinely shook over whatever's being said between online influencers. Companies just don't have the merit to appear legitimately interested in certain circles of culture, but it can't stop them from trying. As a corporate channel, Anna Oop had very few defining features, no exceptional research, no great wisdom to impart. But as a person, their personality perfectly fit into a community that welcomed the characteristically audacious creator who just says what she feels and doesn't give a damn who tries to stop her tea-spilling endeavors.
We all sat through hours and hours of cringe music this year, and I think we all understood that influencers should not make music. Unless you're the hypocritical bitch that is me, of course.
Say what you want about Spill. I think many gave them their fair share of criticism back in the day, but they weren't necessarily bad at what they were doing. The least I can say about them is that in the general discourse of corporate-based channels, they did a decent job at keeping their audience informed and entertained. They presented content in a way that many channels simply could not, and those are two of the key tenets of any YouTube channel that I mentioned in the introduction. Anna Oop, on the other hand, was just mass-produced junk food content. I think that's what bothers me the most about their channel as a concept. Corporations do have the ability to do what many individual creators cannot, and they can achieve great feats with their resources.